The Las Vegas Raiders today pulled off a pretty big upset, in my opinion, with their win over the New England Patriots. And there was a few things that the Raiders did, especially after halftime, that really made it possible for them to win this game. One of those things is that on offense, the Raiders really started to feature Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers in the passing game. Brock Bowers ended up getting hurt sometime in the third quarter. It might have been actually the fourth quarter early. He gets hurt on a lower leg knee injury, and Michael Mayer finishes the game out. But early in that third quarter, Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers both had great catches and runs after the catch that set up the ability for Ashton Jeanty to get in the end zone for his first touchdown. And defensively, this team somewhat was letting up a lot of yards to Kayshon Boutte early in the game, and possibly through the fault of the Patriots, the ball didn't really go to Boutte in the second half very much. It more was of a Stephon Diggs and more passes to the running backs and Hunter Henry throughout the second half. And I think in total with Las Vegas, you look at what they did offensively, running the ball, 24 carries for 56 yards. Even though Ashton Jeanty got that first touchdown in the third quarter, they still were really not able to run the ball. They had a few plays where they would spring one for 7 or 8 yards, but it was more 1 to 2 yard runs, or even, especially late in the game, which I think is a big issue that Las Vegas is going to have to address going forward. They could not run the ball late in the game when New England knew they were going to. And while that might not seem like the biggest deal, a main showcase of a team's ability to run the ball is if the opposing team knows it's coming and they're still able to do it at a good rate. And I think even when New England didn't know that Las Vegas was going to run the ball, Las Vegas still had trouble getting any momentum running the ball. And while people are going to look at Ashton Jeanty, 19 carries for 38 yards and the touchdown, they're going to say, well, he struggled. But I don't see that as the case. I think if you watch that game, or if you did watch the game, you would think that Ashton Jeanty probably wasn't the issue on the offensive side of the ball. I think one thing we for sure got was the full Geno Smith experience. The Raiders got the ball, they went down the field on the first drive of the game and had a touchdown pass to Trey Tucker. They had great protection from the offensive line, but then on their very next drive, and this is kind of why I say the full Geno Smith experience, he makes a questionable decision trying to force the ball to Brock Bowers deep down the field, and it ends up going up in the air, getting picked off by Jalen Hawkins, and it gives the Patriots momentum because this interception happened somewhere around midfield, I believe. And looking back, where Geno Smith threw the ball was around midfield, but it was intercepted around the 20-yard line. But it again is an interception that happens in opposing team territory, and it's a drive that afterwards, after the interception, New England goes down and gets a touchdown that was capped off by a Demario Douglas 2-yard touchdown. And other than that, I don't think Vegas really made any mistakes. I think offensively, even though the second quarter was terrible, they ran a total of 15 plays. They had 2 drives, their first and third drive of the second quarter, where they combined for negative 24 yards. I think one of those plays was a sack from Jalen Hawkins. But what they did do pretty well was they got down the field with less than 40 seconds. They got down the field to attempt a field goal from Daniel Carlson. And even though the field goal was no good, it felt like a pretty professional drive from Geno Smith. He got the ball to a lot of guys, Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, a couple of times. They were showing really good ability in terms of managing the clock. They did this with only 2 of their timeouts. And so it just was great to see, in my opinion, that this is an offense that is new to being, you have Geno Smith, new quarterback. You have Chip Kelly, new offensive coordinator. You have Dante Thornton, new wide receiver, who made a play to basically end this game. And essentially, this team, the Raiders, after halftime, even though New England scored that field goal late, they basically gave up nothing to New England. New England had 5 straight drives where they either punted or turned the ball over, and the biggest, I think, play that happened was the interception from Drake May, where he was trying to target Stephon Diggs over the middle of the field. He ends up getting pressured by Max Crosby, and Isaiah Polameo ends up getting the interception, and Las Vegas goes down. They score. This was a drive that was highlighted by Jacoby Myers, especially. And again, it led to Ashton Genty getting his first touchdown in his career. And I think something that should not be missed in this is New England had a lot of chances. After Las Vegas scored their second touchdown, Dylan Carlson ends up kicking the ball and having it didn't land in the landing zone, which, if you ask me, I think if we're going to change every single aspect of how the kickoff is going to happen for the rest of time, we need to get rid of the landing zone thing. I know that you probably can't do that considering all these guys are along like the 35 to 45 yard line or wherever they line up, but it just seems like a terrible penalty. Especially, it doesn't seem really feasible when you compare the fact that if you kick it out of the end zone, it's at the 35 yard line, but if you don't hit it into the landing zone, it's at the 40 yard line. It's almost like you have to kick it for the returner to return it. Like, you cannot not let the returner get the ball. But that's besides the point, because after that penalty, the Patriots get the ball at their own 40 yard line. Drake May misses a wide open Hunter Henry to start the drive. Isaiah Polameo ends up continuing a great start to the half with a great open field tackle on Trevion Henderson after he catches a Drake May pass for a loss. And then Kyu Blue Kelly ends up playing really sticky coverage on Kayshon Boutte. And the Raiders force the Patriots to go backwards after getting that great field position. And then it just was kind of the same thing over and over and over. It seemed like the Patriots just couldn't get things going. They have the field goal to end the game, but it meant nothing almost because there was 19 seconds on the clock. They had to pull off an incredible onside kick to have a chance, and even if they get the onside kick, they have 15 seconds to get a 60-yard touchdown, and that's just it. It didn't seem feasible, even if everything went right. One guy that was really fun to see running around for Las Vegas's defense is Devin White. He had 11 total tackles. He just seemed like he was always around the ball, whether it was a run or whether it was a pass. It just seemed like he was always there making a play. I highlighted Isaiah Polameo on his interception and his tackle for loss. And it was a somewhat quiet game for Max Crosby. The one sack that he had, it was not really a sack. He more guided Drake May out of bounds. And so the pass rush, it still was not incredible from Las Vegas, although they did have 4 sacks. But like I said, one of those from Max Crosby is kind of going out of bounds. Tyree Wilson gets one, and it's great to see if you're hopeful that this former first-round pick comes back this year and has a great year. Malcolm Kuntz, coming off of his injury, gets a sack. But again, I don't think the Raiders dominated with a pass rush. I think what they did really well was they limited New England's ability to run the ball. 18 carries for 60 yards, and especially if you take out Drake May, you're looking more like 14 carries for 49 yards, and that's just over 3 yards a carry. So it's really possible that the Raiders came up against a bad running team in the Patriots, or it's possible that the Raiders have a really good run defense. Whatever the case is, they still did a great job at limiting Travion Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson, even though I think some of the blame could go on the fact that Drake May threw the ball 46 times. I think it was a great performance from Las Vegas either way. I highlighted Kayshon Boutte early in this game. 6 receptions for 103 yards, a majority of those catches and yards coming in the first half. Hunter Henry had a really good game, and I think the tight ends in general for New England, this was somewhat of a trend last year between Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper, but they're probably going to be two of the more main targets in this offense. Defensively, we saw the new guys make a lot of noise in the pass rush, in the in pass defense. Carlton Davis on the route where Brock Bowers had the ball kind of get forced to him from Geno Smith and it got picked off by the Raiders. Carlton Davis was the guy who kind of tipped the ball up in the air so that it could get intercepted. And, the other guys, Harold Landry comes in. He has 2.5 sacks. Kayvon Chaisson has the other half sack. And it seemed like they were getting after Geno Smith the entire game. New guys in Milton Williams, 2 quarterback hits. The defense had a decent game. I don't think they had the type of dominant performance that they would love to have against a possible risky quarterback in Geno Smith. But again, this could be a case of maybe Las Vegas offensively is better than I was expecting. And that's why Las Vegas kind of, in my opinion, had a shocking win. Not just the fact that they won, but they somewhat had a dominating performance in the second half. Next up for the Las Vegas Raiders, they host the LA Chargers at home on Monday Night Football. This is a big game for both of these teams. Both teams are 1-0. I can't remember the last time the Raiders and the Chargers met on a night where they were both 1-0 or both, were tied for the division lead. While it's 1-0, it's been 1 week. It I think is a good change of pace for what we're used to seeing in this division. And the Raiders have a good chance if they beat the Chargers again at home. They set themselves up to firmly have a grasp on this division. And after this game, I have more faith in them to beat the Chargers than I would have yesterday. The Patriots do, especially after the day, Miami got destroyed by Indianapolis. It seems like they get a weaker opponent. They are on the road in Miami next week. And I think they're going to be looking to show a little bit more offensively. They couldn't run the ball very well today. And I think having Drake May throw the ball 40-plus times, it's just not the recipe for success. I know Josh McDaniels wants to have a lot of success through the air with Drake May. He wants to take advantage of these new weapons that they have in New England. But 46-plus times a game, you cannot have Drake May throwing the ball. It needs to be more in that happy medium of 30 to 35 times a game while also having 20 to 30 rushing attempts per game. That, to me, seems like you have a better chance of succeeding and winning football games going forward.